Welcome to Modern Management of the Older Adult, brought to you by the Institute of Clinical Excellence.
Good morning, team, and welcome to the Modern Management of the Older Adult podcast. My name is Dr. Trissa Hutchinson, Occupational Therapist, and today I am here and excited to talk to you about some documentation tips for fitness-forward occupational therapists. So today we're going to deep dive into three different components, talking first about what does it mean to be a fitness-forward occupational therapist. From there, I'm going to talk about some key concepts with documentation for those fitness-forward occupational therapists. And then we're going to talk about different approaches to some therapy codes for fitness-forward OT interventions. All right, team. So starting off, what does it mean to be a fitness-forward occupational therapist? So I want to go back to our roots and our guidelines from the American Occupational Therapy Association. So looking at the Occupational Therapy Practice Framework, this was updated by AOTA in 2020. So it's the fourth edition of the practice framework. And what they did was they added a ninth occupational category. This was huge. So occupational therapy forever and ever only had 8 occupational categories, and now we have this ninth category. What they added was a specific option for health management. So inside of health management, they include all sorts of things from managing medications to navigating the healthcare system to talking about nutrition. But one that I really wanted to deep dive and look into today is the physical activity occupation within the health management occupation. So AOTA defines physical activity as completing cardiovascular exercise, strength training, and balance training to improve or maintain health and decrease risk of health episodes, such as by incorporating walks into daily routine. So I'd like to emphasize that they include exercise and physical activity to improve or maintain health and decrease risk of health episodes. This is another way for the AOTA to say that leverage fitness, that OTs should be leveraging fitness as a means to increase quality of life and prevent negative health outcomes. How awesome is that? Our occupational therapy practice framework literally has it spelled out for us. They include engaging in fitness-forward approaches, engaging in exercise as a way to leverage health. So what does this mean for us, and what does it mean to be a fitness-forward occupational therapist? It means to be a full scope occupational therapist. We're stepping into the full realm of what we have as occupational therapists rather than staying inside of our old-timer box that has been around for years and years, and oftentimes we kind of get pushed back into really focusing on like ADLs, and not that those things aren't excellent, but as fitness-forward approaches, we can really expand and help leverage outcomes for our patients. So what does a fitness-forward occupational therapist look like? Again, full scope. They prioritize exercise at the appropriate dosage and intensity to really make functional change for our patients. So fitness-forward equals full scope in the realm of occupational therapy. Next, let's deep dive into some key concepts for occupational therapists when they're documenting their fitness-forward approaches. If you're like myself, oftentimes we can get a little bit of pushback when it comes to documentation of our fitness-forward approaches. Doing rote exercise and being told that we look a little bit too much like PTs, or we're stepping on boundaries a little bit. So that can be really common, and reminder that it is our job to make sure that we're documenting effectively and appropriately so that there isn't that gray area necessarily, or have QAers just questioning what we're doing and the motive. So Key concepts for documentation include, first, I want you to set yourself up for success. What I mean by this is when you are developing your goals, I want you to use the make it meaningful approach that we talk about in the MMOA division of ICE on a regular basis. So make it meaningful. This means that when you're writing your goals, I want you to collaborate with your patient, making sure that you're picking something that they care about, and then adding your own spin on it to make sure that it's being fitness forward. A couple ways that you can do this is increase your specificity and objective data within your goal. For example, if I want to make a goal that Betty can get up and off the toilet more independently than she currently is, rather than saying Betty will be able to get up off the toilet with Mod I in 6 weeks, I'm going to add in other layers to make this more specific. Betty will be able to get up off the toilet with modified independence using one upper extremity support of a grab bar in under 5 seconds. So now I just set myself up for success when I'm looking at my interventions that can be focused on power, that can be focused on speed, that can be focused on strength. And I can document and correlate my interventions over directly to that goal with those specific measures. Betty needs power to get up in under 5 seconds. Betty needs strength to be able to stand up that full range of motion. Again, setting yourself up for success by adding in the specificity and objective data within your goals. So once you have rock solid goals that are very detailed and include, again, specificity and objective data, then I want to talk to you about 2 phrases that I leverage as an occupational therapist in the fitness forward realm. Number 1, I want you to use simulated occupation of. Simulated occupation of. What this means to the reviewer, to the insurance company, to whoever is reading your note, is you are telling them exactly what occupation that you are correlating this intervention to. Okay? If I write deadlifts for X amount of reps under X amount of intensity for my patient in my interventions, I am leaving it up to whoever is reading my note to know why I am doing that, to know what that is for. So someone that is not well versed in what occupational therapy can all do and understands the full scope of our practice, they may look at this and they may say, oh, that's just rote exercise. That has nothing to do with getting Betty to lift her groceries up off the ground. So leverage the phrase simulated occupation of. Simulated occupation of. This is a quick and easy way to add in deadlifts. Simulated occupation of picking grandchild up off the ground. Simulated occupation of picking groceries up from the floor. You get the gist, guys. Really leveraging simulated occupation of. The second phrase that I want you to start incorporating when you are talking about fitness forward approaches is required for the occupation or occupations of. Required for the occupation or occupations of. When I mean required, I am saying that this is critical. I am showing the value of exactly what I'm doing in my interventions and how that this is required for this person to increase their independence. This is not something that I just willy-nilly picked. This is required for them to increase their quality of life and well-being overall. What I mean by that is I could say, working on power training with Betty, that because it is required for her ability to get up off the toilet. So required for the occupation of. A quick and easy way to add these into your documentation, if you have the opportunity to add in like dot phrases or quick phrases for yourself, in your EMR systems, I have just built these phrases into my templates so that when I am looking back at them, or when I pull them into my notes, that they're already there for me and it's a trigger for me to make sure that I'm using them. So again, in terms of documentation tips for occupational therapists using that fitness forward awesome approach, first, set yourself up for success. Set solid goals and use objective data and very specific measures, okay? Specificity and objective data when you're writing your goals. Then use the two phrases, simulated occupation of and required for the occupation of. This will help really streamline your documentation and make things very fluid for you. All right, we've talked about what a full scope occupational therapist is, fitness forward approach. We've talked about some tips for documentation. Now, I want to talk about some different ways to approach coding as an occupational therapist using the fitness forward approach. When I was first diving into the fitness forward realm and I found MMOA and everything, all things fitness forward, I wasn't really sure what codes I should be using. Should I be using more therapeutic exercise because I am now doing more exercise and fitness? Or should I be using the therapeutic activity code? When I started asking more questions about this, I attended a webinar from WebPT, and they talked about the definition of therapeutic activity, and it really resonated with me. Therapeutic activity is defined as the use of dynamic activities to improve functional performance. Rather, the use of multi-segmented movement to improve real-life performance. So what we just talked about, up above, what we just talked about is simulated occupation of, required for the occupation of. So we're correlating all of our interventions already directly into real-life performance. So this therapeutic activity code is huge for us. We should be leveraging this code all the time. Pushing, again, therapeutic activity, pushing and leveraging for real life performance improvements in multi-segmented movements. When I compare this to therapeutic exercise is a little bit more broad. It talks about just developing strength, endurance, and range of motion and flexibility without that real life performance component. Okay, so I would really picture, something like a lateral banded walk or a glute bridge or something like that. That would be more of a therapeutic exercise code, being it's a little less relevant when directly correlating that to the occupation versus a box squat or a deadlift or a snatch or a hang clean. All of those movements are directly correlated to real life performance. We've seen video after video go viral about showing someone doing a burpee on the ground and then showing someone getting up off the ground from playing with their grandkids and other things like that. Doing a farmer's carry and then carrying in their groceries. So all of those activities and interventions can really be, really fall into the category of that therapeutic activity. So again, therapeutic activity is a huge code to leverage as occupational therapists. I want you all to feel comfortable that you can step away a little bit from the self-care code. And not that that code isn't great and very relevant, but you can also leverage other codes such as therapeutic activity. All right, team. Today, we talked about what it means to be a fitness forward occupational therapist. In other words, a full scope occupational therapist, leveraging fitness as a means to really promote the highest quality of life and outcomes for our patients. We talked about some key concepts to include in your fitness forward occupational therapy documentation, such as setting goals, leveraging the phrases, stimulated occupation of, required for the occupation of, and then talked about how therapeutic activity can be a really important and really helpful and beneficial code when you are documenting fitness forward approaches. I hope that all of you took something away from this today. I know that as an OT, stepping into the fitness forward realm, it can feel like uncharted waters when you're first dabbling in this space. especially as an occupational therapist, I really encourage you to push through and step into the full box, the full scope of OT outside of our comfort zone a little bit, and really, again, make sure that we are leveraging fitness in our interventions. Our MMOA team would love to share more about the fitness forward approach and everything that towards helping you with helping your older adults in the fitness realm and increasing your confidence in doing so with our MMOA Live course. We have a couple upcoming courses on the road in Oklahoma City on February 17th and 18th, followed by Rochester, Minnesota and Gales Ferry, Connecticut on February 24th and 25th. Hope to see you guys there. Thanks, team, and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the MMOA podcast. If you found this helpful, please share with someone that could benefit. And if you're looking for more practical content to help you better serve older adults, head over to www.mmoa.online, where you can learn more about our free resources, our community, continuing education courses, and our certification. Once again, that's www.mmoa.online. Thanks for listening.